Thank you very much, sir. On the outset, I thank Dr. Santosh Unavar, my mentor, for this opportunity to be part of this instruction course. And greetings to all the viewers today. I will be talking on the non-melanocytic tumors of ocular surface, and I'm Fairuz. I have no financial disclosures or interest. So Dr. Vikas Menon has covered a series in spectrum of pigmented lesion, what you see, which is like completely pigmented on your right side and partially pigmented on your left side. And what we are going to discuss is about the lesions such as in the center. So most of these lesions, when we talk about ocular surface lesions, we make a lot of diagnosis depending upon the colors, whether it's brown, whether it is white, yellow, orange. So there are a spectrum of tumors where you can actually diagnose accurately looking into the colors. So the objective of today's presentation of mine is basically clinical diagnosis and differentiating features. Non-melanocytic tumors, again, are classified as benign and malignant. I will try to cover as much as possible in the limited time the spectrum of tumors, basically case series based. So most important is to differentiate these tumors, differentiate between benign versus malignant tumors. So starting from the presentation to the clinical features, we have to differentiate the malignant lesions from the benign or even infective and inflammatory lesions. So what you see in your left side here are all benign lesions, and what you see on your right side are the malignant lesions. So there are very striking difference between these two, and the most important that you see here is the vascularity of the lesion, the large feeder vessels, the elevation, the thickness of the lesion, and exactly that is what we are going to speak about today. So going on to lesions which is almost transparent, there is not much color over here. This 72-year-old gentleman who has a history of gradually progressing mass was referred to rule out a conjunctival tumor. Well, as you can see here, it's very transparent, but probably because of the overlying, the vessels, the referral doctor was worried about a malignancy in his eye. He has got history of multiple surgical procedures done in the conjunctiva, and this was one test which was done in the clinics, the transillumination test. It was positive, and this is an inclusion cyst arising from the conjunctival epithelium. This lady presented with this lesion, as you can see here, again kind of transparent, and this is the left eye where it's very, very cystic as well. She has another lesion which is a little bit fleshy in the right eye as well, with scattered pigmentation on the surface. This is in fact a case of a balloon cystic nevus. Yes, nevus can present cystic and transparent as well. When such a case presents in the clinic, which is quite rare, very transparent, which is kind of bullous, almost looking like a chemosis, there are two things that we would keep in mind. One is a conjunctival myxoma, and this is a very rare tumor, a conjunctival stromal tumor, which is very transparent and cystic. In fact, these tumors have to be taken seriously because they can be systemic association. A systemic evaluation is very, very important, although these tumors are quite rare. Now, going from transparent without color to colors, now here we have a lesion where there are three colors. In the center, you have something which is kind of transparent. Then temporarily, you have a reddish lesion and a violaceous lesion, which is, present in the caruncle. So you have a lesion with varying colors, and this usually is a lesion which is bleeding. As you can see here, the blood vessels and the blood. So this is how a venolymphatic malformation can present. Usually they present in the orbit. It can also present in the conjunctiva. So going on to reddish lesions now, a very well defined red lesion in the conjunctiva. This is a capillary hemangioma. Very red violaceous lesion, bullous in appearance. So this can also happen over the conjunctiva. This is a patient who has undergone multiple surgeries. You can see scarring of the conjunctiva over here with recurrent, bleeding and reddish lesion of the conjunctiva. And it was diagnosed to be an arteriovenous malformation after confirmation with digital subtraction angiography with connection to the cavernous sinus. And in fact, she was treated with injection bleomycin. Now, this is a very common reddish lesion that you see in your practice, very well defined. This patient has undergone an excision biopsy elsewhere for ocular surface squamous neoplasia, referred to rule out ocular surface squamous neoplasia recurrence, and this happened within 2 weeks after the surgical excision of OSSN. So it's very, very unlikely to have a recurrence within 2 weeks after excision, and this was in fact a surgical site pyogenic granuloma, which is very, very red in color. And now a similar lesion that I'm going to show you here is again in the bulbar conjunctiva, far away from the limbus, which is kind of very papillary. You can see irregular surface, papillary fronds, more vascular, and this was a conjunctival papilloma in an immunocompromised patient. Now, the difference between, the pyogenic granuloma and conjunctival papilloma here, it's more of an inflammatory with diffuse inflammation, redness, and even discharge, which can rule out a pyogenic granuloma and differentiate it from a conjunctival papilloma. All right, so lesions can present with hemorrhage also, even neoplasia. 35-year-old lady with subconjunctival hemorrhage in the left eye for the past 2 months. So whenever you find a lesion, there is an orangish lesion also associated with it. So whenever you have a lesion where there is repeated or recurrent hemorrhages, there are three things that we would think of. One is venolymphatic malformation, amyloidosis, and very rarely a Kaposi sarcoma in immunocompromised patients. And this turned out to be amyloidosis, a primary localized conjunctival amyloidosis. So these have to be kept in mind. So whenever you see these reddish lesions in pediatric patients, although malignancy and in pediatric ocular surface tumors is quite rare, but well, keep in mind leukemia and liposarcoma, which is quite rare, can happen in pediatric age group with this reddish appearing lesion in the conjunctiva, and not to miss rhabdomyosarcoma. Although it's a very common malignancy in the orbit, it can have a conjunctival component as well. Now we're going to the whitish lesions. This looks very, very pearly white. All right, a pearly white lesion sitting in the lower tarsal conjunctiva. In fact, this came out to be a keratin cyst in the left eye, lower lid. She in fact presented like an eyelid swelling. So it's always good to avert the eyelid, whether it is the lower eyelid or the upper eyelid, because the lesion might be sitting in the tarsal conjunctiva. In fact, the differential diagnosis and the referral was to rule out sebaceous gland carcinoma. But you know what? There is not very classical dilated vessels, and it's very, very pearly white, and it turned out to be a keratin cyst. Now, going on to other whitish lesions, a 2-year-old child with a spot in the eye since birth. Apart from the white colored lesions in the corneal component, you find it kind of brown, and the dermal appendages are present over the surface, and it's a very common lesion that we usually see in children, and this is a limbal dermoid. Now, going ahead more, this is a 30-year-old lady who presented with eyelid swelling and fleshy mass that she has noticed in both the eyes since childhood, and it has been progressing. And this is what we found, multiple lesions in the right eye and a lower pharyngeal lesions, which is more of yellowish in color and also whitish because again of the dermal component. And this was a dermolipoma, multifocal in both the eyes. Classically, dermolipoma presents in the superolateral bulbar conjunctiva as very, very yellowish lesion. And most of the time, it is cosmesis that the patient is worried about. With careful excision, in fact, the treatment is attained. Now, older patients, he was referred for a mass in the left eye with recent onset. And well, so this is the lesion when he presented to us. In fact, bilateral more in the left eye. And he had this CT scan with him before he came to us because they suspected a tumor in the orbit. And it is a very classical case of orbital fat prolapse in an elderly individual. Again, excision biopsy is the treatment of choice. Now, this patient again was referred as a case of orbital fat prolapse. So she has this lesion which is coming from the supratemporal area of the right eye as well as from the left eye. But it really doesn't look like an orbital fat prolapse. You saw those lesions. Orbital fat prolapse or dermolipomas are usually yellow in color. This is more of orangish. This has a very classical salmon colored appearance. And more than that, there is this dilated feeder vessel which is seen over that. And that was the right eye and there's the left eye. In fact, fact, this was a conjunctival lymphoma that was clinically diagnosed, further evaluated with CT scan. It was a muscle lymphoma involving the lateral rectus muscle. Incision biopsy done, which was proven to be extra marginal zone low grade lymphoma. Systemic evaluation done. So conjunctival lymphoma is a malignancy of the ocular surface. Systemic metastasis rates are associated with conjunctival lymphoma as well, which is 20%. So systemic evaluation is very, very important. And the risk factors or the prognostic indicators are multifocality, bilaterality, and involving the fornix and the palpebra. This is a patient, as you can see here, treated for ocular surface disorder, dry eye, diffuse congestion for the past 1 year on lubricants, on and off steroids. But what you see closer, when you look a closer look, are these again salmon colorish tiny lesions sitting in the nasal and the temporal bulbar conjunctiva in both the eyes, and this also came out to be a Mold lymphoma. So any salmon colorish or an orangish colorish lesion, it could be a lymphoma, which has always to be ruled out. I'm not going into the details of the classification here, but you need to know conjunctival and orbital lymphoma falls under the T1 and T2 AJCC TNM classification, and depending upon the systemic involvement, again, it is staged under Ann Arbor classification. A 70-year-old gentleman with a whitish lesion again for the past 4 months. Well, it is more than white. You can see a lot of feeder vessels going on to the lesion, and there is rose Bengal positivity in the clinical evaluation and with this perilimbal lesion. So this is a classical presentation of ocular surface squamous neoplasia, especially in older individual it presents. So this is a spectrum of, ocular surface tumors, neoplasia, starting from dysplasia, carcinoma in situ to squamous cell carcinoma. So OSSN actually mimics a benign, or inflammatory lesion, and most common mimic is a pterygium or a pingicula, and it is very, very important to identify and differentiate both. As you see here in a pingicula, the vessels are there, but it is with very tiny caliber and it is very straight, whereas in an OSSN, as you can see here, the vessels are more tortuous and they are more thick as a feeder vessel with the presence of abundant keratin on the surface. So it's very, very important to identify this. Conjunctival SCC, why is it so important? I'm going to talk to you in a little bit in more detail than the other lesions because it's most common conjunctival malignancy. Although it is low grade, it can be aggressive with systemic involvement, and we have other histopathological aggressive variants like mucoepidermoid, spindle cell, and adeno. The classical characteristic clinical features of ocular surface squamous neoplasia is that it is in the perilimbal location because of the etiology, the zone, and the presence of keratin, rose Bengal staining, feeder vessels, intrinsic vessels, corneal encroachment, as you can see here, and scleral fixity. Scleral fixity is something that we actually evaluate in a clinic. We take a cotton bud tip applicator after anesthetizing the ocular surface. We try to move it and rule out scleral fixity. In fact, regional lymph nodes, including the preauricular, the submandibular, and cervical lymph nodes should also be ruled out. The risk factors, apart from immunosuppression, xeroderma pigmentosum, apart from UVB rays, it can be immunosuppression and xeroderma pigmentosum. In these situations, the patients can present much younger, much aggressive. It can be multifocal and it can be bilateral, as in this case. So this is again an OSSN without any surface keratin. So this is the papillary variant of OSSN, which is very, very papillomatous, but you can see this classical feeder vessels going to the lesion. Again, a very small lesion, which is quite nodular. This is a mucoepidermoid variant of an OSSN, which is quite aggressive. It can solely present as a corneal lesion, as in this case, where it is confirmed with an ASOCT, where you can actually see a pouting over here in the ASOCT of the abnormal epithelium into the normal epithelium. And this is a corneal OSSN. There can be presentations such as this. This is an immunocompromised patient with a diffuse corneal OSSN. So apart from the conjunctiva, even cornea can be affected in OSSN. It can present as necrotizing scleritis, as in this case. And as Dr. Vikas Menon already pointed out, in our population, we know we are all brown skinned, and we can have OSSN presenting with pigment, like a pigmented OSSN, as in this case. So clinical documentation is very, very important, be it whatever lesion, to reach into an accurate diagnosis for better management of this lesion. This is exactly how we document our patients. That is clinical clinical, ultrasound B scan is indicated. Other investigative modalities, if you're suspecting intraocular extension in larger lesions, orbital imaging in those lesions where you're suspecting intraorbital extension. Now, this is a patient who presented with this tiny fleshy lesion in the caruncle. I'll just take you through a few caruncular lesion. In fact, she was bothered. She was a pharmacist, very much aware of, the medical part of diseases and stuff. So she was very, very worried about the small lesions, which has been rapidly growing. And this came out to be an oncocytoma, which is a very rare tumor, but systemic evaluation is very important, and there can be recurrences in these lesions. Again, caruncle is an area where you have dermis, you have appendages, you have hair follicles, you have all the glands, the sebaceous glands, the sweat glands. So there are many tumors that can arise from the caruncle, and this is a sebaceous gland hyperplasia. You have to rule it out from a very lethal malignancy, the sebaceous gland carcinoma, where you will find this very reddish lesion. It can be vascular, there can be ulceration, there'll be fever. So this is a sebaceous gland carcinoma. A 60-year-old lady with reddish mass, acute onset. She was posted for surgery suspecting lymphoma. It is cystic. We did an ultrasound. It came out to be a myocystic sarcosis. After treatment, it regressed. And this is a diffuse involvement of the conjunctiva. I have to mention this. This is a intraepithelial variant of sebaceous gland carcinoma, which you have to keep in mind. So it is a clinically wide spectrum of lesion, be it melanocytic or amelanocytic. Colors definitely helps. And appropriate clinical diagnosis is very, very essential for further management. And Dr. Santosh Unavar is going to take us through the management. Thank you so much.